Hi everybody. Welcome to the last session of today, the last panel session. This is a little bit of a grab bag of a session, to be really honest. The person who was going to give a bit more of a session on specifically on Nano and that unfortunately had to pull out for family reasons, so we've sort of assembled an all-star team of people talking about all sorts of, potentially talking about all sorts of different topics. So really up to you to ask some really tricky questions. You haven't lined up in order. Damn it. We're going to start off with we've got Matt Saunders from Contino. Matt, you want to give us a 30-second or tweet length version of what you'd like to talk about today, or your areas of expertise?
Thanks, Steve. So yeah, I work for Contino. We're a consultancy. I won't talk too much about that. But I've done a lot of work in around Docker and DevOps over the last few years. Operational background. Yeah, ask me about Docker if you want.
Next up we have Sabin. I actually used to work with Simon at Total Jobs. He was the sort of head of our database team and I was the operations manager. Simon?
So yeah, I'm Simon Sabin. I run a little consultancy specialising in data and DevOps. Interesting, just eat talk this morning saying that SQL is just painful. That's not true. Honestly, there's loads of things you can do, so yeah, any questions about SQL, DevOps, DataOps, that type of stuff, then fire my way.
Simon's also a SQL Server MVP of many years standing and was also one of the founders of the SQL Bits conference. So if you're in the SQL side of things, please make sure you go along to SQL Bits as well. Next up we have Gabriel from Big Interactive, who gave our session on Azure with OneStack. Gabriel, 30 seconds.
Yeah, for me I will be here more talk about the Visual Studio Online migration. We just made a huge migration to Visual Studio Online and the build server, so we have questions about that. It's like one of the biggest migrations. Actually, Microsoft sent us a mail congratulating us, but again, it's about the new things that we have from VSO and the build system and all of that. So if you want to ask me questions about that or Azure and migration to Azure, that's okay for me.
Fantastic. Next up we have Susan Smith, who along with Simon Sabin is giving my sibilant S's a workout. So we've got Susan Smith, she's a technical evangelist from Microsoft. Luckily we grabbed her and she filled in at the last minute, so we very much appreciate for reaching out to us. Susan, your particular area of interest?
My particular area of interest is DevOps on the IT Pro side, about Windows Server, vNext, containers, Docker, Nano, that sort of thing. So anything about that, or anything about Microsoft, just joking.
Is Microsoft better under Satya Nadella? Yes. And last but not least we have Ben Hall from Ocelot Uproar. Ben?
So I'm currently building a training platform for infrastructure technologies, one of those is particularly Docker, and so we're building on top of Docker, we're teaching Docker, and so that's where our interest mainly focuses at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. I'll start with a nice easy question, so we've got a few people who are interested in Docker and containers. Containers and Docker containers and containerization on Windows, where are we? What's the state of play? Is it still something for a proof of concept to play with? Is it real? Can you use it in production? Who wants to go first? Matt Saunders from Contino.
It doesn't look very real to me, but it seems like it's getting there. There's so much innovation going on, lots of hype. I think when the Microsoft seminar where the Microsoft MVP of whatever it was stood up with a Docker t-shirt on kind of signalled the intent there. With the Nano kernel coming along and the ability to start actually running things in properly contained, and that seems to be a bugbear, not just in the Linux world, but even more so in the Windows world, with device drivers and all sorts of problems bundling stuff up. But if the hype is true, then we can't be that far away. Right, Susan?
Right, so, sorry, did I?
In Rugby World Cup tips, that's a hospital pass.
So it's still in technical preview, so obviously it's not in production, but we're working with lots of customers in private previews on large scale containers, containerized architectures. So if you, I'm not here to sell anything, but if you do have any infrastructure that you would be interested in talking to me about to get on those preview programs, just give me a shout.
So to go alongside that, we have tried it, we have used it, it does work up to a point. But what's more interesting is the working relationship between Microsoft and Docker and seeing how they're engaging on GitHub, the open source work, and that, I guess, has taken a lot more effort, equilibrium to put the code in place. And so now that they've got a working relationship, I think we'll see things moving a lot more quickly going forward, hopefully. But it definitely works and it exists. It's not just demoware now. So that's good.
Can you elaborate on up to a point?
Yes, you stole my question.
So a lot of the core features, like Docker images, aren't there yet. But you can run a process like Powershell inside an isolated container, and that will work in exactly the same way using the Docker client and Docker commands against the Docker daemon as it would in the Linux world. So that's isolated, that's secure, that's everything foundation-wise is set up. It's a lot of the non-core bits are just not there yet because it's too soon. Certain features work, so IIS you can put inside a container, but you can't run ASP.NET Beta 5, but you can run Beta 4. So it's that whole weird translation as far as I understand. And then Nano doesn't work, but Nano works in Hyper-V containers. That's my understanding of it at the moment. It's all very much in flux, but the foundation is there, and I think that's the most important thing. So it's getting the foundation right and working and happy, and then the nice bits can come later.
Okay. Quick question for the audience then. So, has there anybody played with any of the Windows containers and/or Nano Server preview stuff at all? Okay, so we've got Gareth from Puppet and somebody on the back, I don't know. Okay, so put it this way: if there was a robust, low latency, fast to spin up, easier to manage container, isolated container implementation in Windows, who would want to use it? Shit. Okay. There's your use case for you.
So could I ask who has actually played or used Docker in Angular at all? Okay.
That's a good third of the audience actually, which is good. Okay. Question from the audience. Who wants to be first to come off the rank asking a question on any topics, whether it's VSO, SQL Server? Gabriel?
Sort of an introductory question, I guess. Could you talk a little bit about the difference between the native containers and the Hyper-V containers that Ben just touched on, and like why the two, and what are the trade-offs you make when you pick them?
Native containers versus Hyper-V containers in a Microsoft container world. Can anybody talk to that?
I'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
So native containers are similar to what you'd get with Linux already. The Hyper-V, you'd get a bit more of the OS, so it's kind of like slightly different between like virtual machine and the container. And Windows containers work on both the Hyper-V and the standard containers, so they are portable. So you don't have to do the design thing straight off and then change your mind later.
So you're saying we've kind of shifted the abstraction layer.
You get a little.
So it's like a hybrid house between a VM
You get
and
a little bit more.
Okay.
Mark Razinovich wrote a really good blog about the great detail of it, and I'll send a link to that, which explains it a lot better than I can do here. But that gives you the different use cases and where you would apply it.
So to go more, we have a valid scenario where we actually need 2 different levels of security in our process. So when you go onto our website, we give you an entire environment. That means that you can install your own applications, but that also means that you can use up 100% CPU, all the memory and all the disk space if you really wanted to. So if that was running in a normal container, then that, while it's processed and separated from other applications running on the system, it doesn't abstract away from memory management like a virtual machine does. So by wrapping it inside and on top of Hyper-V, you can still have a virtualization type security model that normal containers won't give you. And that's the main driving force, I think, between two different levels of abstraction. Hyper-V will probably be a little bit slower and a bit heavier. Will give you a tighter security model than just a process container model, but that will be a lot quicker. So then it's that flexibility and that variability what some people will need.
Sounds like some of the compromises that were made earlier on in Docker, like a year and a half ago, when perhaps it wasn't particularly safe to run multiple workloads on the same VM within containers. So you'd create fat Dockers, so you'd have a single Docker on a single VM or a single Docker container, and hopefully as time moves on, then that distinction will go away a bit and get more flexibility.
Cool. I'm going to ask a question for Gabriel, because you've been stuck in the middle of there, so you haven't had a chance to say much. I know absolutely nothing about Visual Studio Online. I'm going to put my hands up and say I know absolutely nothing about it. Who's using VSO? Right. Who has plans to use VSO? Right. Who thinks VSO is a stupid idea and Microsoft should never have invented it? No. So, give us a bit about VSO. You know, why you chose VSO, what problems you've hit with migrating. First question, easy off. Would you recommend migrating to Visual Studio or not?
For that. Who's using TFS?
Who's using TeamCity?
Jenkins?
Okay, alright.
Go.
Okay.
Name your other deployment builds.
Travis CI.
Cruise control.
Yes.
Not really.
Oh, you're pain. Right, okay.
First of all, if you are using TFS, please stop it and use VSO seriously.
Somebody tweet that.
It's simple as that. Like managing TFS, especially trying to figure out what are the right licenses that you need to use to actually use TFS, is just painful. Like they have, I think, a 60-page document explaining which license you should buy to actually use TFS online, and using VSO is just, okay, if I cannot access that, means that I don't have the right license, so it's easier to actually manage which license you should buy to each person. So I think this alone is something that, if you are working on a big enterprise, it's worth it to actually move to VSO.
So license-driven development, is this a whole new... Love it.
But again, it's something that is really beneficial. For example, in VSO you get new features every 3 weeks. They are pretty fast on that, and every 3 weeks you have something new. So most of the things that you have on VSO, even the week that the TFS 2015 was launched, you didn't have the features that it has already on VSO. You didn't have that on TFS. So if you are using TFS, it's a no-brainer to actually migrate to VSO. It's not going to be that easy because the migration tools are not that polished yet. For you guys to imagine, the migration tool from TFS to VSO is written in Java, so for sure it's not Microsoft that wrote that. So, but again, it's a really when you actually go to VSO, you have a lot of less machines to manage, and especially if you're using Jenkins as a build system. In Jenkins, you need to manage the build server and the build agents. On VSO, you got the build server for free, and actually you need to only manage build agents. And if you use a hosted build agent, that's quite good and have most of the things that you are actually using. You even save money on build agents that you just pay by the minute. And if you are doing like smaller builds, and the prices has coming down quite a bit, so it's really cheaper to move to VSO. Even like if you want to save money, it's a really good opportunity. If you're using Visual Studio to develop, again, you have free license to actually connect to VSO. So if you're using Visual Studio with MSDN and you are still using TFS, again, you're spending more money than you should to. So it's not a no-brainer to actually, you should migrate to VSO. Again, we did a huge migration. We actually migrated, I think, around 100,000 work items. So it was something that was not that easy to migrate. We actually spent 36 hours migrating just work items, but in the end was actually 99.96% of success on migrating. So it's quite good.
So simply use cheaper, scales better. Fine?
It's, I mean, I think one of the interesting points is the sort of Visual Studio Online team is similar to most teams in Microsoft in that they're pushing to cloud first, so you get all the features in VSO way before you get them in the box product on premise. They're cloud delivery, so they see a bug, they fix it. They see a bug, they fix it. They see people not liking this thing, they go and change it. Look at the prices. So if you want to learn about it, go and read Brian Harry's blog. They are adapting their pricing to fit what people want. How many people are using TFS 2013? Okay, so quite a few of you. The build thing sucks. Yeah? I mean, they have this XAML build thing, which is based off work. It's awful. If you've used Jenkins, TeamCity, that build type approach, the new build system in VSO and TFS is very much more along those lines. They are implementing a new release process, which is again along the same lines as the build system, task-based activities with propagation. So all the release stuff that Octopus has now got, Visual Studio has got, and so it's a DevOps in a box, I like to think. Now, interestingly, we talk about lots of vendors here for doing different bits. If you're a Microsoft shop, VSO does the whole thing from work item to test tracking to build to release to deployment. And so if you like that story, then it is a good story. And I think if you're a Microsoft shop, when they get Release Manager out sometime this year, then it's a very easy, compelling thing to go for.
So Susan, nobody ever got shot for buying Microsoft. To paraphrase an old
Not that I'm aware of.
But so do you think that it's a compelling proposition? Do you know much about the VSO? It's not your subject area.
Not really, no. So I can't really comment.
Cool.
Just one thing I would. How many people here are using Git as a source control? So yeah,
a majority.
Yeah, if you are using GitHub, I would challenge you to actually try the Git on VSO, because special things like protecting branches and all these features that we have already on VSO, and GitHub is still behind on that. So things that even to use Git, it's better to use Git now, in my opinion, on Visual Studio Online than to use Git on GitHub. So again, it's just a question of, we have a lot of features that are in one that are not in the other one, but even the Git experience can be better in VSO. So even if you're not a Microsoft shop or stuff like that, maybe just for protected branches and all these things makes use for VSO.
Question down the back.
So, for example, in our environment, we have a hybrid between a Java and a .NET world. As such, we're generally an Atlassian Kool-Aid kind of shop.
Yep.
Do you see any value that VSO could add? I mean, we're kind of wishing very much to kill TFS any way we can.
So if we're in a, just to paraphrase, we're in a hybrid Java .NET world. Currently, you sort of Atlassian Bamboo stash.
We use cloud-based, but
okay, so
cloud-based
Bitbucket. In the Atlassian world at the moment, if you're in that thing, is there benefits to move away from that into VSO?
So, I mean, if you want to learn about VSO next, watch any of the videos from Ignite. That's when they did the whole push. The whole cross-platform thing, it's not just the .NET sort of platform stuff, it's all in VSO. So you can deploy stuff to basically any platform from build vNext, and including release. So, I mean, the big push is they want you to be able to use their software to deliver to iOS, to Linux, to Windows. Whatever your target is, they want you to be able to use it. The other point is, there's another interesting blog post from Brian about their licensing model that they're changing slightly, which rather than being the classic Microsoft, you pay us a load of money and you get the whole world, they realise that people like to use this product for deployment, or this product for build, and this product for testing. And they're going to license VSO in that way. So if you want to use the build system, you license the build system. If you want to use the release system, you license the release agents. If you want to use the sort of source control, the work item piece, then you pay for that bit. And so it very much fits into, you take what you want.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the questions was around integration and coexistence, because it's kind of, there's no way we can just shove everything over and use that.
In terms of VSO and TFS on premise?
Or no, in terms of, say, having multiple involved, maybe they want to use Jira and Bitbucket, and they want to use the build services on VSO, but you want to.
We have that already. For example, we have some of our systems running on GitHub, for example, and some running on Visual Studio Online. We have some bug tracking on Jira and all this. We have integrations. I'm not going to say to you that's easy or that everything is integrated. With GitHub, it's pretty much integrated. With the other systems, it's not that integrated already. But again, you can use integrated. You can actually everything that has a URL that can expose or push or pull, so you can actually integrate with VSO.
Cool, thank you.
Sorry, Susan, did you have a point about Microsoft's licensing strategies?
Yeah, I can't believe people think they're difficult.
Yeah. Speaking as a long term, I think there is a whole, as a Microsoft partner, there's like a whole course you can go on about sort of Microsoft licensing. There's 2 courses. On the whole sort of
I've been on an internal one-day course and my head was swimming, and they said this is just the basic, and I'm like, oh, okay.
There are entire companies whose business model is they act as an intermediary between you and Microsoft in order to get your SPLA licensing and that kind of stuff down. That is what they do for a living, and they make really good money out of it. Cool. Questions from the audience? Who's got another question? Who wants to talk database? No, is it a database question? No. Okay. Ask it anyway.
So with Nano Server coming, containers, other things coming on the horizon, is it worth me investing in the current technologies if Microsoft's just going to come along with a holistic one in the short term?
In what respect? Investing in what technologies now, did you mean?
So, investing in packaging up so that it's nicely done and chocolatey, or perhaps going off and building stuff inside of Docker for containers, which I'd like to do, but if the Docker stuff and Windows isn't going to be production ready for 4 or 5 years, then maybe I should invest in doing something else. Obviously, going down the Microsoft route with the Microsoft support is going to be the best for all, but I've got no idea as to how far off the horizon that is.
Well, we're working with, obviously I can't divulge the customers we're working with at the moment, but we're working with really large customers at the moment just to nail that, in the private preview that we've got with them, and it won't be 4 to 5 years before it becomes production ready.
4 to 5 months. 4 to 5 months, we hope. So,
yeah, it's definitely, obviously being a Microsoft person, I'll say, yeah, just wait, it's brilliant. Job done. But Microsoft are really serious. They wouldn't make all those announcements. They wouldn't go to DockerCon. They wouldn't, all the announcements we've made and then go, actually, we've changed our mind. It's not,
So, Ben and Matt, I think, would it be fair to say, I think with some of the roadmaps and stuff that you've looked at, that I can't see Microsoft introducing something that's a breaking change or not backwardly compatible and that kind of nastiness that they have. They're trying to stay aligned with what Docker's doing, they're trying to stay aligned with what the rest of the movement's doing. I mean, is that a serious concern, or would your advice be just jump in now, start playing with it and do DevOps?
Yeah, DevOps the hell out of it. We've all got things that we need to get done now. And it's tempting to say, oh, this thing's coming along in a little while, and there's a bit of a fallacy in, I see this a lot in organisations that I go into, I'm sure you do as well, Steve, where people are like, we just need to wait for the final perfect solution, and by the time that final perfect solution comes along, your needs have changed. So I'm now all about the now, what's out there now. If you combine that with where the trend is going towards containerised applications, and it's going that way because it lets you tighten up your feedback loops, that means you can get software delivered quicker and you can get software moved from environment to environment faster. That's why there is all this massive amounts of hype around Docker. The Microsoft stuff isn't there now. If you've got a need to get stuff done that quickly, then go and use Docker and rewrite some stuff on those. When it comes around over the technical previews, it sounds like it's not quite there yet. which is fine. But I don't want to be a guinea pig for this stuff. I've got to get stuff delivered before then. But when it comes out, yeah, great, everyone will start using it, find no problems with it, next version, yeah, even better. And then all of a sudden everyone on the Microsoft stack is on the same page as the Linux guys.
So I've got a question. So for some guy that doesn't know containers at all, how different is the install experience on a container compared to a normal VM? And my dumb experience would be that the provisioning of the container is the different bit. It's that the install piece is pretty much the same.
So what we see in a containerized world, we seem to be moving. Actually, let's step back a little bit. We've come in the configuration management world. People like Gabriel and Tom tell you how you build up a virtual machine, you build up a physical machine, and you install a load of dependencies on the physical machine or the virtual machine, and then you install your application on top of that, and you use a configuration management tool to do that. With containerization, the model kind of shifts left, so you're doing that building and packaging, or the specific